Hi, good afternoon to everyone. Hi, can you hear me? If anyone of these attendees can hear me, if you can just respond. Can anyone hear me? Hello? Utu, that screen is here. Huh. Can you hear me? Acha, just see, then tell me, if you can just see my screen. If you can just see my screen. Now can you see my screen? Okay, that's good. That's good. That is only the thing. That's fine. Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Hello. Okay, okay, thank you. I'll give you a call in the evening. Sure, sure. Thank you. Hello. Okay, okay. No, what I just can you speak out if I can just hear your voice? If you can speak out. No. Okay, 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 that's fine. But can you say hello on that so that if there is any kind of a question, I can respond to that. Okay, 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 okay. Okay, fine. That's fine. That's fine. Okay. Hi, good afternoon to everyone. Hope it is good to go ahead right now. So we will start our today's seminar on artificial intelligence and with data science and emerging trends. And we'll try to throw some light on machine learning and deep learning. Still, I believe the few people are still joining. Just we'll wait for 1 minute, another 1 minute, and we'll just start quickly. Well, once again, good afternoon to everyone, and I hope we should start by now the seminar and let other people to join. So today's topic is on artificial intelligence with data science and its emerging trends. We'll try to throw some light on machine learning as well as deep learning. Before going to start, let me introduce myself first. My name is Sumanta Biswas, and I'm working as a senior consultant and corporate trainer also for K Group Bangalore. And we are into IT consulting as well as development and consulting and training in organizations. So across this world, we try to develop some of the applications mainly related into artificial intelligence as well as machine learning technologies, and we also provide a lot of consultancy into this area of IT. Well, before going to start on talk about on artificial intelligence and data science, I have got few questions to everyone. Of course, I don't want the answer right now, but it is a question, a self-assessment kind of your questions before going to talk about your intelligence. So my first questions to everyone is and you just ask yourself this: am I intelligent enough? I know I won't be getting the question no, in fact, so everyone says yes, we are all intelligent enough, but the question is how intelligent we are. So please, all you think about this, okay, once you go back to home, you think about yourself, how intelligent you are, and how do you just assess yourself that how intelligent exactly you are. And my next question is, how did you get your intelligence? Is it by birth, or you have inherited this kind of intelligence, or you have tried, you have developed yourself this kind of intelligences? So my questions to everyone is how intelligent you are, and how did you get your intelligences? Is it within your birth, or you are just creating your intelligences yourself? And then the question is, what do you do with your intelligence? Suppose if you're enough intelligent, what do you expect out of that? And in what are the areas, or how do you do your work and with better intelligence? My next question is intelligence static? Once you're after birth, whatever the intelligence that you born with this kind of intelligence, and then you grow. So with your growth, do you think that intelligence grows, or you just create or build up your intelligence? And then why you should be called yourself as an intelligent person? So what are the facts, based on what are the facts, or based on which you call yourself an intelligent person? So nowadays, we talk about, we all do the things in a smarter way. We all claim ourselves, a smart guy kind of thing, and we try to do our business intelligently. So what does it mean, in fact, when we try to do business intelligently? So that, of course, we'll try to, throw some light on it. So it's all about your intelligences, and that is how exactly, artificial intelligence comes into pictures. So today we are talking about this intelligence of your machine. So we have learned so far, we have seen so far, in fact, how human being grown up and become intelligent. Now we'll talk about the intelligence of a machine. And machine is, as we know, machine is a man-made product, and a machine become intelligent out of your data. So we get our intelligence out of experience, and which you call about your data. So when you try to fit into machine the kind of your data, and we'll just see how this intelligence evolved kind of thing, how machine works as an intelligent kind of your kind of your product, or intelligent kind of your application. Now this world is data driven and makes us and machine intelligent. The day when you log in, you switch on your phone, cell phone, you are being tracked by Google. Even if it is Google or some other kind of your services, you are being tracked. You are trying to buy something online, you are being tracked. You are doing some kind of your transactions, or either with online, or you are doing some kind of your transactions online. Everywhere you are being tracked, in fact. So when whatever we do in today's life, everything is data driven. Data is being captured, data is being stored, and we try to use this particular data to make our mission intelligent. So we'll just talk about how this machine gets more intelligent on a day-to-day basis, and what kind of applications exactly we talk about. So let's say today's agenda, what exactly we'll cover in today's seminar. So a few stories, we'll talk about few stories, in fact, about artificial intelligence. Some of these examples, which you must have heard already, you must be using in day-to-day's life. So we'll just talk about some of this, kind of your examples. Then understanding the meaning of artificial intelligence. What is artificial intelligence is all about. We'll just try to develop our perception as well as the concepts on artificial intelligence, and we'll try to throw some lights on tools and techniques of artificial intelligence. If you want to work, or if you want to develop some of the applications on artificial intelligence, so how do you work on? And then we'll try to see some kind of your differences, or some kind of comparisons between artificial intelligence, deep learning, machine learning, because it is interchangeably it is used. And you must have come across with this kind of a terminology: machine learning, data science, deep learning. We'll try to throw some lights on these differences, and finally we'll try to see what would be our roadmap to explore, and if you'd like to implement artificial intelligence, what exactly we need to do. But before going to talk about, I must say this is a very vast area in artificial intelligence. So my objective is not to teach anything in this particular session, but I'll try my level best, in fact, to make you people understand what exactly artificial intelligence talks about, and how it is being contributing in our day-to-day life, whether artificial intelligence is threat or not. We'll try to see some pros and cons of artificial intelligence, and we'll talk about some kind of your tools and techniques to develop. Some of you may be the people, those who have joined, some of you may not be from IT background. So if we try to develop some of the applications, how do you go about? So the steps, we'll talk about some of the steps of developing artificial intelligence. Now I'll just read out this particular slide. In fact, I just request everyone to go through this particular slide. It talks about some of the facts. As we know, it's intelligence given by the machine. It's all about virtual. So we have got this virtual assistants kind of thing, like as for example, Google Assistants. It's a virtual assistants kind of thing. So this particular virtual assistants and deep learning will foster adoption and artificial. So everywhere people start talking about adopting artificial intelligence, trying to develop applications on artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence has the very prominent place in our day-to-day life, and every organization is trying to deploy this kind of your applications. And that is how exactly the concept came up, is democratization of artificial intelligence. Either way, you can say everywhere people talk about how we can utilize artificial intelligence in our day-to-day life and make our life rather easier and faster kind of thing. So this is all other government departments. You can see the companies nowadays, and right now this artificial intelligence has become as a buzzword, in fact, in the industry. Though it's not new. In fact, we'll talk about when artificial intelligence was developed and when it came to the market. In fact, and why this nowadays, people are in fact want to implement these applications. And if you see this statistics, throughout 2018, all artificial intelligence performance will continue to improve. People try to adopt some of these applications, and if you can see, Chirag Dikat, as research director of Gartner's, has said, the increased availability of AI capabilities, and it is being embedded in all different applications. And as you know, this cloud has become spread out clouds. All the applications are getting deployed using this technologies, deep neural network. We'll just talk about this kind of technologies, the terminologies. If you come across new kind of terminologies, don't worry about that right now. But you must have heard about Alexa or Siri, which has been developed as a virtual assistant, and which has boosted basically intelligent and conversational interfaces to product and services. And now, if you look at the survey, in fact, the Gartner's latest CEO surveys of 3,160 CEOs, and out of this, from 98 countries, and they found that 21% of the CEOs are already been piloting AI initiatives or have short-term plans for them, and another 20% of them are of medium and long-term plans. So more or less every organizations, whether it's a small or a large, they are trying to get into this kind of your deployment of artificial intelligence. And that's the reason exactly IT experts are also getting this kind of your knowledge, which they feel that it's a burgeoning AI economy where everyone would be working on this kind of your technology. If we talk about this chatbots, in fact, which helps us to interact with the customers in a to a great extent. And the kind of your neural network, what is neural network, we'll talk about later on. In fact, this is a kind of your technology which is being deployed with this artificial intelligence. It works in a bigger way, in fact. So identifying the partners, which are being already into this machine learning for decision, improving this decision making. And artificial intelligence is also driving the transformation of business and value creation in directions. Now, if I talk about transformation of business, and you must be agree with me that nowadays the way of doing business kind of thing, the way of addressing a problem, how do you manage your business processes, even addressing the customers, customers problem, understanding customers problem, understanding customers behavior, how your business goes about, what are the flaws in fact in the business, how do you address to that, everything we try, it's could possible only using this kind of your technologies. Now, if you see this, kind of your study, so there are different organizations which have done a lot of studies on this kind of your technology, and this is exactly about 2,200, 2,200 AI startups, half of which already been engaged in last 2 years. And what they say, predict even by 2019, those startups and others like them will overtake Amazon, Google, IBM, as well as Microsoft. Now we know these are the major player, in fact, in this in the industry. Those who have already been deployed, like could be Facebook, could be Amazon, could be Google. But even the smaller, the organizations, after deploying this kind of technologies, they would be contributing a lot in terms of economy, and that is expected that they may overtake this kind of your organizations in near future. So we'll talk about some of these examples of artificial intelligence in use today. We have already heard about it, okay, but still, I'll try to mention few of them. As we know this the kind of your contribution of machines in our day-to-day life. As for example, we cannot think of our life nowadays without internet. We cannot think of life without cell phone. We cannot think of life without computers. So in our life, machine has a bigger role. Rather, a machine has taken over our job on day-to-day basis, and that is how exactly we see the machines are gradually taking over our job, in fact, though it is not yet at least. But however, the seeping way into our lives, affecting how we live, work, and entertain ourselves. So, for example, from voice-powered personal assistants like Siri and Alexa to more underlying and fundamental technologies such as behavior algorithm. Now, this particular terminologies may be new to you, but nothing to worry about. We'll talk about. So, because based on algorithm, in fact, all this kind of applications are being developed. So it says that behavior algorithms, suggestive searches, and autonomously powered self-driven vehicles. All we have heard, even we know this in India itself. The metro and the driverless metro has been started already operational. So self-driving vehicle boosting powerful predictive capabilities. So there are several examples and applications of artificial intelligence in use today. So you must first understand a few of the examples, how it works, how do you particularly develop an applications, how it is going to help us, whether it is a threat or good, it is contributing. So we need to understand all this. So however, but still, this technology is still in its infancy. Do we talk about there are a lot of powerful kind of applications are present in the market itself, but still we say it is in infancy, because what many companies are calling AI today, some of these applications we call as an artificial intelligence are not necessarily so. And as a software engineer, even I can claim that any piece of software has AI, artificial intelligence, because due to algorithm, every applications of the program are being written with the help of an algorithm. It's basically based on some kind of a logic that responds based predefined multifaceted input or user behavior. So it's already been predefined. So as because we say it's already been predefined, it's already been defined in the machines. We are asking this machine, if this kind of a situation arises, or if you get this kind of your data, how do you behave? And that is how exactly we call it as an artificial intelligence. This application we call it as an application. It's already been predefined, already been fed into the machine. So that is the reason exactly we do not call this one as a true artificial intelligence. So a true artificially intelligent system is, how do I define, is one that can learn of its own. So if I have got a system where I have designed in such a way so that without feeding the data, because we say our experience is our learning, okay, and this learning it get out of the data we have collected. So that is the reason exactly we say without feeding the data, if we can just do something our own, we can say it is a true artificial intelligence. So if we talk about neural networks from the like Google's DeepMind, so there is an applications from Google which can make connections and rich meaning without relying on predefined behavioral algorithm. So it's behave that way. A true artificial intelligence can improve on past iterations and getting smarter and more aware, allowing it to enhance its capabilities and its knowledge. So that type of artificial intelligence, the kind that we see, wonderful stories. You must have seen a lot of movies. This artificial intelligence has been introduced. As for example, if you see the series of movies of HBO's, there are powerful movies which implemented artificial intelligence, like Westworld, Alex Grant's Ex Machina are still in a way off kind of thing. So we are not talking about all those right now. We are not talking about the robot in robotic science right now at this stage. But at least one yet, what exactly we are talking about is known as pseudo artificial intelligence technologies, and which are driven much of our voice and non-voice based interactions with the machines. So Oli, please, if you can just take it as a note. So this particular talk is all about pseudo artificial intelligence technologies that driving much of our voice, because some of the applications or some of this artificial intelligence we'll be talking about, which are driven out of our voice on non-voice based interactions with the machines, and the machines this is a digital age kind of thing. Like your companies, Apple, Facebook, Tesla, all you must have heard about all these companies, roll out grand breaking updates and revolutionary changes to how we interact with machine learning technologies. So there is one more kind of your technology that is known as the machine learning technologies. Many of us are still clueless as just how artificial intelligence is being used today by business, both big and small companies. How much effect will this technology have on our future lives, and what other ways it will shape into our day-to-day life. So that is all exactly we are going to throw light on this. And when artificial intelligence really blossoms, and how much of an improvement will it have on its current location and so-called technologies. So this is what exactly we are talking about. And apart from this, nowadays we must have learned about a lot of artificial intelligence. But now there's one more computing system comes up, and that is known as quantum computing. Okay, so the question is right now whether quantum computing is a threat to us. Okay, so well, I'll just before going to start, I'll just throw some light of quantum computing kind of thing, how quantum computing can affect to us. So the truth is that whether or not true AI or artificial intelligence is out there or not is actually a threat to our existence. There is no stopping that evolution and its rise. Machines have always fixed themselves on improving life across many spectra, and that the use of technology has become the vehicle of doing just the thing. So although the past 100 years we have seen most dramatic technologies uphills to life than in all human history, the next 100 years is set to pave the way of multi-generationally forward. And that is how exactly quantum computing is coming up. So there will be hands of artificial intelligence, and we also become smarter, faster, and more fluid and human-like, thanks to even inevitable rise of quantum computing. I'll of course talk about the quantum computing in fact. So quantum computing will not only solve our life's most complex problems and mysteries regarding the environment, aging, disease, war, poverty, origins of the universe, could be deep space exploration, just a few of them, will soon power all of our artificial intelligence system, acting as brains of these superhuman machines. So what happens exactly, due to the development of quantum computing, which I call it as a quantum is an area basically of study focused on developing computer technology based on the principles of quantums. And nowadays we know this in computing, we use zeros and ones, but it will be, it would be able to use both zeros and ones, and which will explain, the nature and behavior of energy and the matter on the quantum. That is, we call it as an atomic or subatomic labels kind of thing. So the quantum, computer works with the particles. Is called your quantum that can be, superpositions. Rather than representing bits, such particle would represent qubits. So nowadays we talk, when you talk about the computer system, we talk about the bits which has been expressed, through zeros and ones. But when you would be talking about the quantum computing, it will be all about, the kind of your the qubits kind of thing. Which will take the values of 0 as well as 1 and both simultaneously. And that is the question is, how the quantum computing could be a threat. But however, quantum computers hold our own, inherent risk. And if you see this, and if this kind of a development happens, then what will happen after first quantum computer goes online, making the rest of the world's computing obsolete? In that particular case, how we will exist, architectures protected from the threat that this quantum computer poses. So considering the fact this world lacks any formidable quantum resistance cryptography, so that will also be developed, there is no resistance kind of thing. And how the country like the United States or Russia will protect its asset from the roused nations or the bad actors, that will be using quantum computers to hack the world's most secretive or lucrative information. So though we are talking about the development of artificial intelligence, and then the next level comes of your quantum computing. So the question is, how we are going to be safe, or how we are going to protect our confidential data. And that is what in the conversation of Nigel Smart, he is a founder director of Daedric Security and the vice president of International Associations of Cryptographic Research and a professor of cryptology at the University of Bristol, says that the quantum computers could still be about 5 years out. However, when the first computer is built, we do not know what exactly is going to happen. And it says all of the world's digital security is essentially broken. The internet will not be secure as we will rely on algorithms which are broken by quantum computers to secure our connections to websites, download emails, and everything else. So even updates to phones or downloading applications from app stores will be broken and unreliable. Banking transactions via chip and PIN code be rendered insecure. So depending on exactly how the system is implemented in each country, of course. So clearly, if we see the kind of your development in artificial intelligence as well as quantum computing, we see there are a lot of applications which will help us in our day-to-day life, even right from the customer's business perspectives to an individual health itself. But there are a lot of threats, in fact, in terms of your keeping our data confidential. So if I just move on, I'll just talk about some of the examples. As we know, so the first example which I talk about, you must have heard about Sri. So Sri is a built-in intelligent assistant. In fact, all you must have using Sri even. So I'll just talk about a few lines on this Sri. In fact, so it's an intelligent assistant that enables user of Apple i5, 4S, and later phone, and newer iPad and iPod Touch devices to speak natural language voice commands in order to operate the mobile devices and its application. And rest of the, you can see on my screen, rest of the benefits. C is user friendly kind of thing, voice activated. C is an intelligent digital personal assistant. Now we use machine learning technology. In fact, so this is an artificial intelligence applications, but this has been developed using machine learning. So we'll see later on how this artificial intelligence or machine learning are different from each other. Next, the examples I talk about Alexa. In fact, Alexa is also very popular, and it could be that some of you must have also purchased some of this product from Amazon. So it is capable of voice interaction, music playback, making to-do list, even setting alarms, streaming podcast, playing audio books, or providing weather, traffic, sports, and other real-time information such as news also. So Alexa can also control several smart devices using itself as home automation system. So you can understand, in fact, what Alexa can do for us. Okay, so as you know, there's when Alexa was introduced, how this world reacted kind of thing. So this is one more applications as from Amazon, who has been it has been introduced. So it can do similar million other things, and so it can make our home smarter, so that we would be able to work friendly kind of thing. Now another and a good example is Tesla. In fact, you can see this, and the first question, if you see this first line, if you don't own Tesla, you have no idea what exactly you are missing kind of thing. Okay, so it's a self-driven car kind of your technology, is emissionless kind of your technology. So on its cars driving, so Tesla CEO Elon Musk, in fact, announced that all the new cars, including the upcoming models, will have outfitted with the hardware needed to achieve full autonomy kind of thing. So there are a lot of kind of your advantages of having driverless kind of your, because if a car is prone to accident kind of because of human error, so we can monitor. So this particular artificial intelligence application will help us to avoid the kind of your accident due to human error. So there, if you can just see, not only the fact that it has received so many accolades, but because of its predictive capabilities, self-driving features, and shared technologies, is its coolness, and that is how what is the beauty of this particular product. And already we have seen this example in India itself. This particular metro services has already been inaugurated in Delhi, and it's operational kind of. So we can understand how this kind of your a driverless car or driverless kind of your train is helping us. Another example I'll just talk about is Cogito. In fact, Cogito is in fact a real-time conversational guidance. Okay, originally founded by the CEOs, the Fist and Sandys. So Cogito detects human signals, apart from the text which I have written. So Cogito detects human signals and provides live behavioral guidance to improve the quality of every interactions. And that is the reason exactly, for customer services in a huge way, Cogito is being, introduced. So for customer service, it has been introduced. Then another example I talk about is as a Boxever. Boxever is, will transform your business around, your customers. So positioning you to drive, it could be customers acquisition, could be, customer conversation, or it could be, customer retentions and ancillary sales. So these applications will, majorly help in terms of your customers experience, customer satisfactions, customers retentions, and in terms of all your marketing activities kind of thing. Another example I'll just talk about is John Paul. John Paul is basically, highly esteemed, luxury travel, kind of your applications, which will help, even the kind of your Visa, kind of your Air France or Orange, those who have already been acquired, even, Accor hotels have been already been, acquired this kind of your applications. So which helps them to improve your existing client interactions, able to understand and know their desire and needs on acute levels. So this kind of your applications, without any, human intervention, this particular applications, helps us to work. Other applications I'll talk about, of course, is very popular to us. It's from Amazon, in fact, and all you must have been experienced when you are buying online, that kind of your suggestions when recommendations the Amazon giving to us. Suppose, as for example, if you are trying to buy a computer or trying to buy a cell phone, even Amazon applications recommends other products which you which you can compare. Even Amazon, try to, kind of your launch kind of your products even without knowing our, without we know the kind of your requirement for us. So that kind of your assistance which we get it from this Amazon's applications. So Netflix and other applications, which is given customers reactions on films. So whether or not to what extent from your previous experience, it would be able to provide some kind of your assistance to you, how exactly, accurate your predictive technologies based on customers reactions to films. So it basically analyzes billions of records to suggest films that you might, like based on your previous reactions and choice of the film. So this is one another, kind of examples of artificial intelligence. Another example, if we talk about, is Pandora's, and Pandora is quite possibly one of the most revolutionary technology, or techniques you can say that exist out of there. So it's called exactly musical DNA, and based on 400 musical characteristics, like your parameters, we can say, each song is first manually analyzed by the team of professional musicians based on their criteria, and the system has an incredible track record. So it's basically recommend kind of your songs which would be, which goes unnoticed even, but people inherently likes or love that kind of your songs. Another examples, if we talk about, is Nest. Most everyone is familiar with the Nest. Nest is basically a learning thermostat. Based on your requirement, this thermostat helps you and basically, what should be the cooling or what should be the heating is required for you. So it basically anticipates, kind of your adjustment of temperature at your home or kind of your appliances, so home appliances. So that is how exactly Nest works. Another good example from Google is DeepMind. So Google's DeepMind is an artificial intelligence business who conducted clinical trials, in fact, on technologies that can help diagnose eye diseases. So this is another most powerful applications from Google, which help us to diagnose, kind of your eye diseases, such as glaucoma or diabetics kind of thing. And so it helps us to protect from eye blindness. Another good examples, of course, it's a very popular example is Sophia. In fact, so it's a first robotic citizen, in fact, of Saudi Arabia. So if I talk about something of Sophia, in fact, Sophia was activated, in fact, on April 2015, April 19, 2015. And basically the model was the robot basically modeled on Andre Hepburn, in fact, and is known for an human-like appearances and behavior compared to previous robotic variances kind of thing. Now, according David Hanson, in fact, basically the CEO of this organization, who has developed Sophia. In fact, Sophia uses artificial intelligence, visual data processing and facial recognition. Sophia can image, in fact, human gestures and facial expressions. It can, 55 different type of your facial expression. It can, express. In fact, Sophia uses, voice recognitions, in fact, technologies. Okay, and gets smarter. In fact, Sophia is a suitable, companion for an elderly event at nursing homes, which can help the elderly people, or even it can help crowd at large event or park event. And we can expect this robot is can ultimately interact with other humans sufficiently to gain social skills. So Sophia has other siblings also. Sophia has 7 siblings who are also created by this organization, this Hong Kong-based organization. In fact, so the other siblings are kind of your Alice, Albert, Einstein, Hugo, kind of your Bina 48, Hans, Jules. Then Einstein, Professor Einstein's, and these are a few of the siblings of Sophia. And if we talk about throw a few more lights on Sophia, if we talk about the features of Sophia, in fact, so the camera within Sophia's eyes combined with a computer algorithm allows us to see, in fact. So she can also follow faces, sustain eye contacts, and recognize individuals. So these are all written out of this algorithm. She is able to process speech and have conversation with using a natural language subsystems. So around January 19, 2018, Sophia was upgraded with functional legs and the ability to walk. So these are some kind of features. Of course, if we keep on talking on Sophia's itself, it will take a lot of time. So I just talk about one more thing. Sophia is basically it is basically conceptually similar to computer program, and that is known as ELIZA, in fact. So which is one of the first attempt of simulating human conversation. And the software has been programmed to give pre-written responses to specific questions or phrases like your chatbots. So these responses are used to create the illusions that the robot is able to understand. That is what exactly we are talking about. Is it's already been predefined kind of thing. It's already been fed into this particular system. So including stock answers to questions like is the door open or shut, that kind of your answers. So the information is shared in the cloud network, which allows to input and responses to be analyzed like your blockchain technology kind of. Okay, so this is a few of these examples. There are many more. N number of examples are there. You can explore even some of these examples. But the question is, what is artificial intelligence? So that is what we'll talk about. So far we have talked about introduced some kind of examples which you can come across, which can create some of your interest. But the question is, what do you mean artificial, and what do you mean by intelligence? So artificial means which is man-made. Artificial intelligence is exhibited by machines rather than humans or other animals. So the field of AI research defines itself as a study of artificial intelligent agent by a device that perceives its environment and take actions that maximize its chance of success at some goal. So it just talks about the kind of your kind of your accuracy it's talk about. Now the question is, if I ask you people, how human being acts. So we know this human being or animals are intelligent. So if a machine wants to work like a human, like a human or an animal, so the machine needs to be intelligent at par with this kind of thing. So how human talks kind of thing. So when you talk about the intelligence kind of thing, so if you ask me a questions, I can respond to that. I can understand your questions. That means I am intelligent enough to understand your questions. I can sense, in fact, I can feel the test. I can look, I can hear. So if we can, do all this kind of thing, we can say, we are intelligent enough, to do the thing, kind of thing. So that is how exactly this machine would be doing it. So the machine would be able to walk, machine would be able to talk, machine would be able to communicate. So as we have seen, the language processing system, in fact, how this machine, talks to other kind of your computers, and then how the machines would be able to look at how the machines would be able to test, how the machines would be able to fill in. So that is what exactly we talk about, the intelligence. So if we talk about artificial intelligence, it's a machine, in fact, that mimics the cognitive functions of a human mind. So if we just split this two, the two words, artificial as well as intelligence, and as I have already talked about, artificial intelligence is exhibited by the machines, and the way a particular machine mimics about this humans kind of your activities, like your, if you talk, you just feel, you test, and you react kind of thing. So it's basically an area of cognitive science. I'll just try to, throw some light on, in fact, because if you want to work something on artificial intelligence, so it's basically is in the cognitive functions of human beings, and it's all been integrated. So cognitive science is an interdisciplinary study of mind and intelligence. So that is, of course, we need to understand, of course, it's a very vast area, and it's basically an interdisciplinary kind of area where we'll talk about many different, kind of your fields. So what I'll try to do is I'll try to throw some lights on different areas. So if you're interested, you can just, go through a few more, documents. It could be online, and you can refer the documents to understand. And of course, it's not necessary that we would be a master of any particular area of all the fields kind of thing, but we need to understand basically in a holistic view how this artificial intelligence works, and what are the areas where the artificial intelligence is being incorporated, or you can say this interconnected, I should rather say. So if I talk about psychological science, cognitive, psychology kind of thing, cognitive neuroscience, cognitive linguistics, then philosophy, computer science, anthropology, sociology, and biology. There could be, a few more, could be fields which could be associated with this kind of your intelligence. So we need to understand, in fact, if we want to develop a kind of applications which should try to work or mimic like human beings, so human beings is all about, psychology. Human being is all about your philosophy. Human is all about your biology, and human is all about kind of your anthropology or cognitive science kind of thing. And then, of course, apart from this, if you try to improve any other kind of your kind of your applications using artificial intelligence, I suppose the mechanical engineering could be also play an important role, like in a robotic science. If you would like to develop a robot kind of thing, then mechanical science, mechanical engineering would be able to play a major role in developing that kind of your applications. So what I'll try to do is, I'll try to throw some lights on this each and every, kind of your area or the fields, which will help you to understand, and later on, you can just take it forward so that you can throw a few more lights on this particular area. So if I say, psychological science, in fact, the psychology is basically a branch of science, in fact, which studies science, that includes, the philosophy of science, history of science, and sociology of science, or sociology of scientific knowledge. The psychology of science is defined most simply as the scientific study of the scientific thought and behavior. That is how exactly human behaves. In fact, so human or every human beings or animals can have thoughts. So if you would like to capture, within a particular mission, how this particular thoughts can be captured. Then if you can just come across this cognitive psychology, the medical definition of the cognitive psychology is a branch of psychology, we can say, which is concerned with mental processes as perception, thinking, learning, and memory, especially with respect to the internal events occurring between sensory simulations and others' expressions or behavior, which you can call it as compare behavioral or behavioral science kind of thing. So if you want to kind of implement this kind of understanding like your human behavior, so we need to understand this cognitive psychology kind of thing. And if you say this cognitive neuroscience, so cognitive neuroscience is basically a scientific field that is concerned with the study of biological processes, okay, and aspects that, unlike cognition, that there is a specific focus on neural connections in the brain. Because you must have come across, we must have used this neural network kind of thing. So that particular terminology you must have come across, and you can just see right now is this particular terminology, it's been borrowed from this kind of neuroscience itself, where the neurons in human beings works in fact, and it responded to a kind of your actions in fact. So suppose, as for example, if you want to talk, so this neuroscience get activated, gets inputs, and then gives a kind of your output, or as we are talking. So that is how exactly brain works in fact. So this has been also been implemented in artificial intelligence, and that is how exactly we call it as artificial neural network kind of thing. As because in human beings a lot of neurons are there, how neurons, and that is being replicated basically, and this is embedded into a machine, and that is that is how exactly it has been implemented to behave a machine to behave like a human beings. Now if I talk about cognitive linguistic, in fact the cognitive linguistic refers to the branch of linguistic that interprets language. Now as a very silly questions normally I ask to everyone, as for example, if I say that what exactly I'm talking to you or speaking right now is, do you understand, yes or no? And sometimes people say yes, okay, we have understood. And then my next question is, what do you mean by it? So when you say this, you have understood, what does it mean? So that is how exactly the interpretation, linguistic interpretation comes into this. How do you interpret in fact a kind of your language? Okay, so it could be sometimes could be universal, sometimes specific to a particular tongue, or which underlies its forms in fact. So linguistic focuses on scientific study of human language, is theoretical, descriptive, social, and behavioral basis. So that is how exactly natural language process works, and that has all been implemented, as you know, in Google Assistants kind of thing. Sri, you have heard it. So it also serves as a privileged window into human cognition. Okay, so cognitive science tracks students may also take related courses in music, could be neuroscience, psychology, or computer science kind of thing. So this is how exactly it works. And then if we talk about philosophy, philosophy is a way of thinking about the world and universe of society. So now if I ask, Sophia has got some philosophy, yes, or the people, when it has been adopted, when the citizenship was given to Sophia, in fact in Saudi Arabia, people keep on asking is, suppose if I manually switch off, in fact, so whether it is a kind of your crime or murder, yes or no. Sophia can get married, yes or no kind of thing. So what would be her rights as a citizen? So that kind of your questions, that is comes under kind of your thoughts, kind of your philosophies, the basic questions of nature of human thoughts, in fact, the nature of the universe and the connections between them. Okay, so this kind of your philosophies are more or less in general and abstract, could be. So philosophy uses tools of logic, in fact, and reasons to analyze the way which humans experience the world. And I think everybody follows some kind of your philosophy in your life itself. So it teaches critical thinking, close reading, clear writing, and logical analysis. So you can understand right now is if you would like to implement an artificial intelligence, people would be able to, how people would be able to, understand this kind of your fields. Then of course computer science, nothing to explain on this computer science. In fact, it basically processes a kind of your system, kind of your data. Of course, you talk about so using some kind of your OLEDs, or basic designs of computers. So it's basically in computer science we talk about is automating an algorithmic process kind of thing. So computer scientists specialize in the theory of computations. So all we know, in fact, the importance of computers. Of course, we know anthropology. If we talk about, is a study of human beings. So early, the parents of this, chimpanzees. Anthropology studies human languages, cultures, and anthropology is the study that makes humans. So and sociology, in brief, I'd like to conclude. So sociology is the scientific study of society, including patterns and social relationships, uh, and social interactions and culture. So the term sociology was first used by the Frenchmen, in fact, and aspects of sociology is the study of social institutions, which are major structures made up of groups or ideas that influence people's daily lives. So this is how it works. And then it comes to biology, in fact, is a study of living organisms. So my objective of explaining all these kind of areas is to make you understand, if you'd like to implement an artificial intelligence applications kind of thing, which will mimic a human cognizance, or human intelligence. So it needs to kind of your incorporated all these areas, the way how human interacts or human works. Now, if you talk about the certain areas of artificial intelligence, and as I already said, artificial intelligence is a very vast area, and I'm not going to talk about or teach anything about each and every areas. Okay, so what exactly I'll do is I'll try to throw some lights on different areas, like it could be neural network, it could be machine learning, it could be cognitive science, or it could be natural language processing, which are very popular, in fact, in the industry. So if we talk about in brief, I'll just try to explain what do you mean by neural network, because these are the areas which has been incorporated or being, these are the technologies which are being introduced, to develop an artificial intelligence applications. So if I say this, a neural network, in fact, is an artificial neural network, because human beings, all the neurons are theirs, and that is how exactly it is derived out of that, neurons. So artificial neural network. So it's an information processing paradigm, in fact. Now that is inspired by the way biological nervous system, such as brain, and it processes information. So that is being, replicated. That kind of your, model is being replicated, in fact, and it is being introduced. So artificial intelligence, artificial neural network is an interconnected group of nodes. In computer science, we call it as a nodes, whereas in human kind of a biological perspective, we say it's a neurons. In fact, is a vast network of neurons in a brain. So a neural network is a series of algorithms. Basically, algorithm is nothing. Those who are new, algorithm is nothing but a logic is being written. So how the process will be executed in a particular sequence. So that is called, we call it as an algorithm, in fact. Okay, so that endeavors to recognize underlying relationship to a set of data. We'll just throw some lights, in fact, as for example, if I give you a picture kind of thing, and I'll just ask you, can you recognize this picture, or can you distinguish between these two pictures? If suppose, as for example, if I give you two pictures, like one could be your dog and one could be your cat, and if I ask you, can you distinguish, and how do you distinguish it? Okay, because out of our experience, we have recognized this is cat or this is rat. Okay, out of this picture, out of the same shape or characteristics, we can recognize, and that is what is exactly we have developed our intelligence. But if I want this computer to work in the same fashion, how this computer would be developed? So what we do is we would be writing an algorithm, in fact, at the back end. So there will be huge amount of your data, out of which the computer will experience that. We call it as a training the data, in fact. So out of this experience, so computer will gain that experience, and it will try to identify the pattern, in fact. So out of that pattern, it will be able to recognize. So next, if you give a pictures, provide pictures to computer and ask the computer to recognize, so what it will do is it will run that particular algorithm, that technique, in fact, which will try to put that particular pictures in a particular pattern, and based on that, on its probability calculations, it will be give you through this kind of your answers. It will give you the answers where there is a cat. This is how exactly it is being it is. So it's a series of the neural network is a series of algorithm, in fact. So it recognizes as a kind of your relationship, is in a set of data. So as you know, nowadays, a huge amount of your data is being generated on click, and every day millions of data is being generated. So nowadays, if you see the evolution, in fact, of the computers as well as the business processes, you must have seen, nowadays we only deal with it. How do you exploit, or how do you churn the data, in fact, to get more and more information. So existing information, there is a huge amount of data is available nowadays. So we keep on churn this particular data, and neural network is basically adopt this kind of your changing inputs, so that network generates the best possible result without needing to redesign this output criteria kind of thing. So this is how exactly neural network works. So there could be some planning, of course, in artificial intelligence. So the planning in artificial intelligence is about the design, in fact. So making tasks performed by the robots could be, or it could be a computer programs to achieve a specific goal. So as usual, in kind of your writing a kind of a program or developing kind of applications, we have got a lot of kind of your planning is required. So the execution of planning is all about choosing a sequence. In fact, that is already I said how it works. So so it's nothing but writing a sequence kind of thing of the actions, which could be highly likelihood to complete the specific task. Next one is robotic. Of course, we must have heard a lot of about it. Robotics is an interdisciplinary branch, in fact, of engineering and science that includes mechanical engineering, as I talked about, computer science, and other areas. Now, if I talk about machine learning, in fact, as I say, as I just already talked about, using data, machine learn something. As we in our individual life, we learn out of our experience, and this experience is data. So this experience we capture in a computer science, we capture this particular data and try to compose this particular data and help the machines to learn. So if we talk about machines, the machine corresponds could be computer, or could be a robot, or could be any other devices. Okay, and this learning activity is an activity, in fact. So it could be a pattern recognition, it could be kind of your train, in fact, out of which the machine will be able to learn. So that is all about user machine learning. So as for example, I want to predict something, so I need to learn exactly what would be the train, and based on that, I try to identify the pattern. I try to recognize. I try to identify my potential customers. I want to understand my customers' behavior. I want to understand who could be my fraudulent customers kind of thing. So the machine wants to learn, in fact, out of this previous data, try to find out the patterns. And try to identify kind of your abnormal kind of your transactions. Okay, and so when it tries to find out an abnormal transaction, we say, okay, this could be a kind of your irrelevant transactions, or it could be a kind of your fraud transaction. So that is how exactly machine learning works. So there are a lot of other techniques, other tools are there present in the market, in fact. So we'll be talking about some of the tools and the techniques of machine learning. So when we'll get into this particular area, we'll talk about this particular area, and then we talk about the perceptions and knowledge. Then of course cognitive. I just go to this cognitive system. In fact, so cognitive system is a one that performs the cognitive work. In fact, of knowing, understanding, planning, deciding, problem solving, analyzing, synthesizing, could be assessing, could be, and judging, as they are fully been integrated with that particular applications. And knowledge of AI, in fact, a knowledge presentation and reasoning is the field of artificial intelligence, and dedicated to presenting informations about the world in a form that a computer system can utilize to solve complex tasks such as diagnosing a medical conditions or having dialogues with the natural languages kind of thing. And the next is, if we talk about the perceptions of AI, perception is a process to interpret, in fact, because we also develop a lot of your perception. So how does your machine, develop this kind of your perception? So perception is the process of interpret, acquire, and select, and then organize the sensory informations, in fact, that is being captured from the real world. So as for example, if we talk about, so human beings have sensory receptors, in fact, like, we can touch, we can feel, we can taste, we can smell, we can sight, and we can hear. So these are the kind of your perceptions we will be able to develop. And then natural language processing, already I've talked about, this is kind of your communication like in human beings. So I just cut short this kind of your this language, in fact, language processing, which would help us to communicate. Now, the big question is, we would be developing an artificial intelligence, applications of artificial intelligence. And the question is artificial intelligence a threat? So there are the few people who believe that there are in a fairly high percentage chance that a generalized AI will happen in next, 10 years. And technologies has, have warned that artificial intelligence could one day pose an existential security threat, could be. And even Elon Musk, is the CEO of product Tesla and the co-founder of CEO as well as co-founder of PayPal. He said that it could be a greater risk even, to our civilization. And even he said this artificial intelligence applications could be even more dangerous than could be your North Korea. That is what exactly you can see, in his remark. So here, of course, we have seen, these movies, in fact, how a robot, could be a threat to human beings. Even, Sophia and the robot citizen also announced once that, she will destroy the human beings kind of thing. So one day, it could be the case, the robotic, the kind of the machines could take over from the human beings and could be more intelligent. And it is being predicted that it could be 2022, artificial this machine learning, or the intelligence of the machines, could be very close to the human beings. So so this growth of artificial intelligence is exciting, in fact, but terrifying prospect. We need to see how we can utilize. Okay, and there could be there could be many dramatic productivity gains, in fact, and transformations at our workplace. In fact, many organizations are getting their applications developed, automating the systems, and there could be a lot of threats, in fact, to employees even after utilizing this kind of your applications. So we'll just talk about 5 real dangers of artificial intelligence according to experts. So I also personally see, if you ask me, where this we do not know where this artificial intelligence will take us, in fact, after 5 years or 10 years. Okay, so that kind of thing. So if we talk about some kind of your the kind of your threat of artificial intelligence, so it's basically, it's not really we are speaking. So the experts warns of the threat from increasing advanced chatbots. Okay, you must have seen, even Facebook developed the chatbots. They have started, developing their own language kind of thing. So this chatbots would be using machine learning, to impersonate your contacts. It could be, via email. It could be a messenger apps to extract informations. And they also warns the possibility of these chatbots being able to visualize as another person's in this particular chat. So that could be a particular threat in terms of your developing artificial intelligence. Sometimes computer could say, because human behaves, imitating human behavior. As for example, web navigations could be hundreds of thousands of bots flood online services. That is the kind of thing. In what way, that term human-like denial of services. The services could be, denial can be, computer could say at a certain point of time, computer could say, it could be blocking legitimate users, or it could be, or in the process making the services less secure kind of thing. So it could lead to cyber attack, could be used to against companies offering digital services or those in possession of online databases kind of thing. So this could be another threat, in fact, in terms of artificial intelligence. And then we see in the fake news. Now, sometimes we are familiar with, no doubt, that about this experts warn that it could be become more advanced, in fact. So we foresee an advancement of this highly realistic fabricated videos of leaders. It could be the CEOs or just about anyone you can think of, making a defamatory kind of your statement, even if it is in a wrong hand, could be. So they would be able to create that kind of videos, in fact, which should be seems to be very really genuine kind of thing. And so, and if this technology does not exist, in fact, it will be more accessible and widespread. So that kind of your kind of accessibility. Another threat, it could be spatial delivery kind of thing. Now companies are increasingly adopting pre-programmed bot to perform a number of manual tasks kind of thing. Okay, so whether they are used in terms of your deliveries, and as for example in the factory machines, or simply cleaning, in fact, because some of the cases where hazardous job is being done, where the human won't be accessible, so the robot takes up, in fact. So the expert warns that these are under greater threat of being hijacked and used, could be maliciously, it could be used and carry explosive, for example, kind of thing. And then the other threat could be manipulation of information's availability kind of thing, because increasing complex algorithms could be used to affect dissemination of certain informations. So as for example, if you talk about companies' existing client could be driven towards negative news reports or fake post kind of thing, portraying in fact the firm's product or conduct in a negative light kind of thing. So this could be the negative impact, in fact. So this all sounds scary, in fact, but it could be premature to head to these hills with a stockpile of guns and baked beans just yet. So this is not exactly the Terminator kind of thing. Besides that, the report is more due diligence, in fact, and define threats, and the experts that delivers recommendations and how do you mitigate that kind of your risk. So we need to see, in fact, how you are going to use this kind of your applications, right? So what I did right now so far is I'm just trying to focus on a few of the examples on artificial intelligence, which you'd be able to create some kind of a more interested. We'll just try to throw some kind of a lights on pros and cons of artificial intelligence. Now I'll just talk about so these are the threats kind of thing, language conversation from English to different kind of your languages. Now what exactly I just try to quickly throw you is basically artificial is not new, in fact, in the industry, because long back in the year of 1957, John McAfee in fact introduced this artificial, but this was more focused on the robotic science, in fact. But nowadays, in fact, as because with the help of business grows, in fact, the business has been expanded kind of thing, and people are tech savvies kind of thing, and as because data is being generated in a huge way, millions of data is being generated. That is how exactly this has become popular kind of thing. So these are the histories kind of thing, artificial intelligence kind of. I'm not talking about this histories at this kind of right now, but yes, there are many reasons exactly behind this rebirth of artificial intelligence. So as we know is the processing of computers has been increased like anything. We have got like from the supercomputers, as well as if we talk about our own desktop as well as a laptop, it has been developed a lot in terms of processing. So we can process our data in a huge data kind of thing in a single terminal, single machines. So data has been grown like thing, because we are now in a position to capture whatever actions you are doing, transactions. So everywhere we would be able to capture this kind of your growth. So we can have focus on specific problems. Okay, and then we can transform these problems into our knowledge. So that is how exactly an adaptive interactive reasoning model. So we are now capable of this many models or the algorithms. So that is how exactly it works. So we just are trying to make ourselves kind of smart. Okay, so it's basically sensing, reasoning, and kind of acting on activities. So if we talk ourselves smarts, we say okay, we can speak kind of thing. We have got the capabilities of language processing, kind of thing. The problem solving approach, kind of thing. So this is the problem solving approach we have. So that is how exactly we call about the smart kind of thing. If we say there's possible applications of artificial intelligence, I'll try to focus on few of these applications, in fact. So your understanding, in fact, if I ask you, your understanding is basically we have a machine, in fact, and we have the data, which is in huge volume kind of thing. And we have got our algorithm, we have got our logic. So what we do is exactly we write our algorithm, we write our logic, okay, and through that particular logic we pass our data, and accordingly we see this machine behaves. So that is how exactly the kind of your mechanic works of artificial intelligence. Okay, so it could be a model simulations, could be it could be machine translations, it could be even social network analysis kind of, it could be understanding, could be customers diagnosis disease kind of thing. So whatever the job you'd like to do, in fact. So three things is basically, one is how do you deal with huge amount of your data, how do you write an algorithm which will run within the particular machine, and after running this particular algorithm with the help of this with the feeding of data, how this machine behaves. So that is how exactly it works, and that is already I talked about, so it's already been predefined, already been fed, and that is how exactly we are saying is it's not actually an artificial intelligence. So as for example, we talked about in machine learning, this my machine wants to recognize the pictures. So we have got this data, past data. So past data, it tries to recognize the pattern, and based on this particular pattern, it recognizes pictures, whether it is a dog or cat kind of thing. And that is what is all about machine learning. Okay, so customers behavior, predicting something, so it could be your machine learning. Similarly, deep learning, we'll just see the basic difference between deep learning and machine learning as well as artificial intelligence. But we have got a lot of different hidden layers there. And previously we talked about is a neural network kind of thing, artificial neural network, but we have given as a new name has been coined is deep learning. So it's a collection of all these mechanics from machine learning, the techniques from the statistics, as well as it has got the different hidden layers, in fact. So and huge volume of your data, multiple kind of your algorithms. That is how exactly deep learning kind of works. So use cases, of course, we can see quickly. I'll go take you through this kind of examples. People are trying to study, in fact, using this kind of your cases. There's probability line, trying to find out the probability line kind of thing. So using this, the aviations, they would like to allocate the kind of your date, ticket pricing kind of your determinations. And suppose, as for example, though it's not popular, but robots are also robotics. Robots are also started, kind of your teaching, in fact. So I started, though it's not, but it's coming out, in fact. So we will see this, in future, near future, robot would be able to teach us. Even healthcare industry, where this, plays artificial intelligence applications, as we have seen, its applications, help us, to diagnose the disease, in fact. So already we have talked about, this Google applications, DeepMind, which will help us to diagnose. Similarly, some of the areas in the industries are there where human interventions is not required. It could be some kind of your poisonous or risk kind of thing, and the job is involved where the robot can take up. So even in finance, in fact, the kind of your marketing analysis, again, the term is data mining, could be a new to you, but it could be, we'll explain, but it is portfolio management, it could be personal finance. So that kind of your activities, the cases. Artificial intelligence, we have already talked about, is a self-driven car kind of thing. We would be able, so applications already we use it to locate a particular car. We use GPS kind of thing, applications which would be help us either way, to identify the locations, to identify the particular car. We can track the car, kind of thing. So in day-to-day life, we are using this kind of your applications. Another applications could be, using this kind of your, self-flying kind of your helicopter. This is given the name of K-Max, would be able to help us, to douse the kind of your, to deal with this kind of your, firefighting situations. Similarly, this is an interesting, artificial intelligence would be also help us, to protect, hijacking this kind of your airplanes. Okay, so it could be, could be help us, a drone, it could be, or it could be your sniffers, trained sniffers. It could be helicopters, self-driven helicopters could be help us, to protect, from hijacking. So Aaron is one of the applications which can also, draw some kind of your paint. So these are the paints already been drawn, by Aaron's. So artificial intelligence also can compose, some kind of your music. Already we must have heard about, IBM, Watson's, which can answers, it has already been, defeated, the kind of your the AlphaGo. So IBM, also has introduced, latest, and it has been introduced Watson, to in terms of your hiring, so we can remove the biasness, in fact, in terms of your hiring. So this is what has been introduced. So if you can just, if you can just have a go through. So this is, all related to, the biasness, which talks about, suppose, HR manager could be biased, could be gender specific bias, could be, future kind of your companies, could be co-worker, and could be in some other previous organizations, could be, or could be influenced by kind of a caste or creed. So this kind of your biasness, this Watson would be able to remove. Okay, so this is, Google's DeepMind's AlphaGo, applications. Okay, which is different, Go champions. So machine learning, we'll just talk about the relationship, and it is very interchangeably used, in fact. So if we talk about, artificial intelligence, we can see artificial intelligence is basically a superset, in fact. So where we would be talking, all the technologies or the techniques which are being used in machine learning. So it's a superset. So we would be using some of the techniques which are being already been defined in machine learning. There could be some of the techniques which are being used even in deep learning. So it's basically a subset of, deep learning, artificial intelligence. So machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence, and deep learning we can say is a subset of machine learning, kind of thing. So only the thing is, in deep learning, there are a lot of hidden, kind of your layers are there. We call it as an artificial neural network, kind of thing. So, so this, artificial intelligence is being implemented using, could be artificial neural network, which we call about, deep learning nowadays. Could be, using some kind of your machine learning techniques. Even it could be implemented some kind of your, data mining technique. It could be even used or implemented even some kind of your statistical technique. So it's basically a combinations, which helps us to develop an applications, to develop an applications which works, like a human beings. Even, as in artificial intelligence, we apply some kind of your logic, we apply some kind of your, algorithm which are being defined in machine learning. So this is how exactly it works. Now, as I already, said, if it is a typical analysis, so it's basically nothing but an analytics, so that is what exactly I have coined, in fact. So if you try to develop an artificial intelligence applications, you need to see exactly what would be the data flow, how the data is being analyzed, how this program is being designed, and how, what would be the flow. So what I'll do is I'll quickly, take you through this kind of a process. But my intention is not to teach you exactly this kind of a technology, but it's, as you know, this from the flow chart, there will be a data. In fact, it will go through different processes of cleaning. As for example, you must have heard about cleaning the data. You just try to, put the data in a kind of relevant structures, so that we would be able to do some kind of your, analysis, or we can just write some kind of algorithm, or it would be some kind of your pattern recognition. So all this stuff exactly we can do. So I'll just talk about some of the techniques, in fact, which will help you to understand, in fact, which will take you on, take you to towards your artificial intelligence. So those who have already done data analytics, could be business analytics, for them it could be, it could be known topics. But those who are, are totally new, in fact, those who have, planning to get into this, or those who want to work some of the applications in artificial intelligence, so at least they need to have fair understanding about, this kind of analysis. So that's how exactly I say, this is a kind of a ladder, how you go about. And if I say this today, I want to learn artificial intelligence, but my suggestions would be, it's not that a day you can start, quickly on artificial, because this concept also comes up from analysis. In fact, how do you deal with data, how do you manage your data, kind of how do you clean your data, how do you understand, check the distributions of the data, how do you apply some kind of your analysis, statistical analysis. So you want to understand, in fact, you want to compare the products, you want to compare, your marketing strategies, investment. So in that case, we would be able to, apply some kind of a statistical analysis. We try to understand some kind of a forecasting, which will help us to identify the trend. As for example, I want to project, companies, as for example, kind of your, or I say there's a turnover basically in the next 5 years or 3 years. I want to forecast, companies progress. I want to forecast my sales. I want to forecast some kind of your situations. It could be raining, it could be earthquake event, okay, or it could be tsunami event. So how do I forecast kind of thing? And then I try to understand, the kind of your pattern, customers behavior. I want to understand, recognize some kind of your pattern. So we call it as a data mining techniques. So then is machine learn, in fact, out of this, because we know this functional based kind of your activity. We do write a particular program. As for example, I'm trying to create a PPTs. So I have designed a small program, the applications which will help us to. So I've given instructions to this application to the computer and does accordingly. It is a predefined instructions which are being written in kind of your program. But each and every activities, as for example, whether a transaction is a fraudulent transactions or not, because it's not known to us and we need to identify. So that is how exactly machine needs to learn, as also some of the situations we come across, we face on our day-to-day life, which we have never experienced, and we react. In fact, we just deal that particular situation based on the situation. Similarly, in fact, machine or the computers also behave accordingly based on the situations. So that is what we call it as an learning. So machine learns out of that kind of your circumstances and behavior. So there are different type of your technologies we'll talk about, in fact. So it is machine learning, and then as already talked about is artificial neural network or artificial intelligence and data science. Now data science is a part of, we try to visualize a kind of your data, we try to extract some of the information, understanding the pattern, growth of this particular data. So if we talk about all this, so it's also data science we talk about. So it's not that a particular technology works and for a particular area. Even the kind of technology or the techniques we would be using in machine learning or deep learning, the same could be used in artificial intelligence or data science. Even the kind of a technique which we have used in business analytics or statistic analysis, that could be also used in developing a program and application of artificial intelligence. So what exactly, I'll just try to throw some lights on, and what do you mean by data analytics, business analytics kind of thing. Quickly, I'll take you through. So a few of this kind of your understanding. It's basically nothing, as you know, this data, in fact. So all about data we are talking about. Machine works based on your data. We behave based on our experience. So that is the reason exactly we need to understand. So understanding data, in fact. So it's a kind of a huge topic. It's not that you do a particular thing and you'd be able to understand your particular data. So you need to give a deep dive, in fact, in the data and how data is behaved. Whether the data you'd be able to utilize, in kind of your training a data, kind of your developing an applications which will be which would be an artificial intelligence or an applications, which will try to learn out of the pattern. So you need to have an data which has to be clean, in fact, which need to be transformed. We need to model that data in such a way so that we would be extracting. So there are a lot of techniques out there. Those who have worked they must be knowing a lot of techniques, as for example, understanding the distribution kind of thing of a particular data is a part of data analytics techniques. I want to understand simple creating a particular report could be part of your data analytics thing. I want to compare, I want to understand the customers. I want to understand, the kind of your populations of a particular country or a geographical area. So it could be a part of your data analytics. So it has got a lot of areas, of course. I cannot, of course, within this particular session, it's really due to time constraint won't be able to discuss each and every area. But if you just see an holistic view of this, it could be, it helps you for this enterprise and analytic solutions. It could be data collection services, it could be social media services, it could be. Now, of course, I'd love to show you a demo kind of thing, but it would be difficult, for all, in fact, to stay back. So as for example, I have got a data, in fact, which is, and I want to do some kind of understand this particular data. As for example, how do I do it? So that kind of your techniques we talk about under, so it could be, it could be a text file, in fact. So how do I do it? You people must be doing it. As for example, I have got an Excel file. In fact, I just opened an Excel file. Huge data is being captured. The data is being captured in database also. It could be, captured in warehouse. And nowadays, you can see data is being captured in data warehouse, where we talk about distributed network computing systems, where you can access the data like right from WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitters, or any other social media. Similarly, I can have the data, it could be an XML format. So in that particular case, how do I do this? So I have got this huge company data or organizations data which are being captured in XML format. How do I do some kind of analysis? So these are the techniques which we talk about under this particular domain. So data analytics, and then I see business analysis. So these are the basically technique which we talk about, the quantitative research. I just go to this. I just quickly take you through. So these are the basically kind of a job we used to do on our day-to-day life. Even you can see this web behavior. I want to see this page views kind of thing. I can just see footfalls, in fact, on a particular page. So this kind of analysis, if you want to do, I want to do some kind of economic trends or market research. We just do it on using data analytics. I can have quickly on business analytics. So it analyzing business, and I used to normally ask questions everyone, and this question goes to everyone because all you must be associated with a business. And when I say business analytics, what you analyze of a business, I'll not answer. In fact, it is, you can note down this questions, and it's in real life questions. In fact, go back and ask yourself. It's not an involvement, because I have come across many people in the industry, when those who are involved in a particular process, and when I ask him or ask her, you are associated with an analytics, you are doing business analytics, business analysis, and what exactly you analyze. So the people, sometimes, this kind of they mix up the thing. They see, basically they talk about the process, management kind of thing. So it talks about analyzing particularly data, which talks about it's not only about creating reports. So it helps you a kind of your decision making process. That is how exactly it is being written. So it is a data driven decision making system. So techniques could be statistics techniques, you need to give the insights. So I just quickly take you through business analytics task. It could be understanding business change needs. So it's an holistic. So I just distinguish it in a two different way. One could be data analytics. So I just look into this like this. So when you are dealing with some specific job or a specific kind of activity, I name it as a data analytics kind of. But if it is a process perspective kind of holistics, process management, I call it as a business analysis. But I don't get confused, in fact. So sometimes we use some kind of techniques which are being used in data analytics. The same could be used into business analytics itself, but your approach, your methodology could be, it could be, holistic views could be changed. So that is how exactly, we give understanding business change in. So it's a holistic view. It's not related, could be finance, could be, manufacturing, could be HR, or could be sales. So it's a holistic view of a business change, capturing, analyzing, and requirement supporting to your communications and delivery requirements to the stakeholders. And it is an organization's data emphasis statistical systems. It is also a data driven kind of your decision making process. So it involves data systems. So you can understand, in fact, if we talk about either artificial intelligence or any kind of use, it involves data information technology methods, some of the techniques and algorithms. So these are the day-to-day examples. You can just have a look, you can Google it, you'd be able to see some of the applications of business analytics. Now you can just see the kind of your relationships, interconnections between this kind of your area. So that is how exactly it works. Even if you talk about artificial intelligence or machine learning, or even kind of your deep learning, all are interrelated kind of thing, interconnected. So it's not a very specific kind of a techniques are being used. So it's basically in descriptive. This is the different techniques. So we try to optimize a basically process, and that we call it as a prospective analysis. And rest is, of course, descriptive. I'm not talking about what is descriptive, not getting into this descriptive and prospective kind of thing. So this is how exactly different techniques works. Okay, so all these kind of your techniques, if you like to if you are more interested, you can give a thought, go through this kind of documentations, will be able to. So statistical techniques is also a branch of statistics, which helps you to understand, in fact, so interpret and presentation data. So these are the different areas of statistics which will help us to to understand. Forecasting is basically a trend, as for example, it is very much used in an organizations, which help you to understand how your business goes, or if you want to predict how what would be the situation after 3 years or 5 years, what would be the trend of your business or the sales and that kind of a production. So this is how exactly in forecasting, as for example in time series analysis, we'll go for it. And this is the kind of your the kind of activities which you talk about. So the managers, and it's a very job of your managers or the senior managers or the people, those who would be able to help the organizations to predict. Then data mining, it's basically a pattern recognition. Okay, so it's some of the techniques we use from data mining techniques. As for example, I want to try to identify the price of a house kind of thing. So how do I predict that kind of your so I want to try to understand the behavior of a customers. How do I do it? So these are the techniques, in fact, which helps you to go for it. Could be decisions. So these are the algorithms. In fact, we talked about algorithms. So these are the algorithms, different types of your algorithms of classification. I want to classify my target customers. I want to put it in different segments. I want to club together a kind of your customers. So I want to say there's some kind of associations. So it could be prediction, it could be clustering. In fact, I want to recognize the patterns. So these are all are being used, in fact, to develop an applications in terms of your artificial intelligence. So this is the techniques which are being used. It could be data exploration, reduction, classification, association. So please try to understand these are it's not possible to explain this kind of a technique in one slide kind of thing. So this is a kind of your branch, could be statistics and mathematics. So where we need to understand, so those who would be a hard coding a kind of your or designing an applications kind of thing. So they need to understand the kind of your data reduction technique, as for example. Now, if I say quickly, suppose you have got this 1,000 fields, in fact 1,000 columns, if I say, and 1,000 parameters, or other you can say this. How do I consolidate the parameters, other I should say the similar kind of your parameters, to put it in one column kind of a one parameter. So instead of considering 1,000 parameters or 500 parameters, it could be, for a business perspective, we would be able to consider only 50 parameters, so that the machine capacity to running that particular algorithm, to run that particular applications business, it will be much more faster, and getting the better result kind of thing. So these are the kind of your algorithm we need to learn, in fact, if you'd like to try to develop an applications. So it could be causes and effect modeling kind of thing. So this is how exactly machine learning. There are different kind of machine learnings are available. We call it as a supervised machine learning, unsupervised machine learning and reinforcement machine learning. So you say this, and reinforcement machine learning, we call it as, kind of your artificial intelligence. That is from layman perspective. As for example, self-driving car, so using cameras, some other devices, you capture the data instantly. So when the car is moving or a moving object, you can say, so you are instantly capturing the kind of your information's data, and that data is being fed into your algorithm. Suppose, as for example, whether you need to if an obstacle, if that particular car finds an obstacle, what should be the reaction of that particular car, okay, whether this particular car should stop, yes or no, or to what should be the speed limit of this particular car. This all basically is environmental kind of your situations. So if we talk about real-time decisions or kind of your learning, it capturing from the environment, we capture it from the machine, captures from the environment, the capturing the data in fact, and then process that particular data, fed into the particular system, we call it as an algorithm in fact. And that is how exactly you need a computer, you need kind of your algorithm which is correctly been designed and to give you the result. So once the result is being given, then the particular your machine reacts accordingly. So you can understand the volume of data machine should gather in fact, and the kind of your the speed in terms of your processing perspective. So how good your system should be in terms of your process perspective, so that you can run in fact this kind of your data and the machine can react. And in some of the cases, I mean, if you can just believe me, so some of the cases, a system takes even kind of your month or kind of your week's time to process your data. So you can understand the kind of your huge volume of your data which needs to be processed. So this is the kind of areas where machine learning works. So we classify, one is your supervised. We say supervised means where there is some kind of your output, as for example, yes, no. I am just whether you are going to select it, yes, no kind of thing. Okay, your loan is an approved, yes, no kind of thing. So when we are trying to get some kind of answers, there's some kind of variable, from layman perspective, I'm just trying to make you understand is, so this is your supervised kind of thing. And unsupervised is, as for example, I want to segregate the customers. I want to put it in some kind of your kind of your clustering. I want to do some kind of your visualization, or I want to reduce my dimensions, my parameters. So this is all about is your unsupervised, where as such there is no output, but it is rearranging, reorganizing, putting in some other format, that is called unsupervised. So these are the different techniques are available. So these techniques are being applied now. As we know, there are a lot of technologies that are available nowadays. It could be the Python. You must have heard about Python. It could be R. It could be SAS. It could be even Java. In fact, so a lot of different techniques are available, and these are the algorithms which are being implemented through this kind of your tools and techniques. And we just try to develop a kind of your applications. So this is all about your machine learning. So machine learning could be, as already said, supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement. If you can just have a quick look, in fact, I'm not talking about, so it has got some, so these are the first thing on the left, on your left, if you can just say this, it could be a text, it could be documents, images, and the kind of inputs exactly you are trying to, put it in, and you have got this an algorithm, which is, the most algorithm is the logic is to be written through which your data will pass, and based on that it will give you the result. So this is known as my supervised learning, and there is a little difference between, so these are the techniques, these are the algorithms are being written. So you need to understand what is regression, in fact, what is logistic, what is decision based classifier. These are the support vector machines. So these are the algorithms are being written, but as a developer, in fact, it is also not possible for everyone to learn each, and some of the areas could be statistics, some of the areas could be even biology, and being a human being, you won't be able to master each and every kind of your area of the field. So that is how exactly nowadays this environment programs, the programming language plays an important role. Okay, like Python, if it could be R, it could be Java, it could be SAS. So these are the kind of area which comes up predefined kind of your algorithm. Even Google, Amazon, Microsoft, they are also working and very hard in terms of your predefined model, as because everything is going to be a cloud, and no need to be an expert in terms of your writing an algorithm, but we can take the help of predefined algorithm which are being provided. Either way, could be Google or could be IBM or could be Amazon. Okay, so this is all into the kind of your languages or the environment are being provided. This is then reinforcement. Understanding from the environment, learning from the environment is your reinforcement learning, and that is, in a nutshell, we call it as an artificial intelligence. That is how exactly your intelligence works. As for example, you are walking down to a street, you find an obstacle. What do? That is your intelligence. You capture the informations from the environment itself. You just see the distance of this obstacle. You just see what is the speed, at what rate exactly you are walking down the street, whether you need to stop it, whether you need to reduce your speed, you need to take a turn kind of thing. So that all we analyze ourselves as a human being, and the same has been replicated in the machine based on the data which are being captured in a real life scenario kind of thing, which are being captured from the environment. And based on this data, we write a logic, in fact predefined logic, which I say, if this situation arises, if this distance is, if the obstacle is this much of your distance, you need to reduce this kind of your speed, and that is how exactly machine should react. That is artificial intelligence or machine learning works. Now deep learning also I just talked about, it's basically previously it was known as artificial neural network, where we have got only one layer. But in case of your deep learning, because we have got this a huge amount of your data process algorithm, so there could be a multiple hidden layers, and that is how exactly we have given the name of your. Now look at this. If you just see look at this particular diagram, there could be multiple layers in this particular the kind of your algorithm which we have written. So this is how exactly comes under. So we try to recognize a kind of your pictures. So you ask your computers. Now as you know, there's the from space the kind of a picture has been sent. Okay, and we need to recognize what kind of your pictures is it from heavenly bodies kind of thing. So this is how exactly machine does. It goes several hidden layers, and from its probabilistic calculations it identifies which captures could be. So it's already been predefined. So the parameters are predefined kind of thing. So it could be huge number of your parameters are being predefined, which has been designed to fit into this. So this is how exactly it works. Similarly, I just told, if it is a question to distinguish between cat and dog, how do you? So this kind of a technology which is being used is under deep learning, in fact, and using deep learning technique, or it could be machine learning technique, or it could be any data mining technique, your application is being developed. So that is how exactly you reach to a level of artificial intelligence and applications of artificial intelligence. And if we talk about again data science, in fact, again we talk about it's an interdisciplinary kind of your field where scientific methods, processes, and algorithm or system extract knowledges. So you can also visualize the data, you can find out the patterns. It could be both structures and unstructures kind of thing. So where data science, and if I take an examples, in fact you can see this diagram where it says it is an interdisciplinary kind of thing. So there are different other techniques, and if you see these applications of data science also, you need to have could be an IT skills, it could be an analytics, it could be your business skills, and it could be data science skills, and it could be n number of your jobs which you would be able to do under this particular area, where it could be simple, it could be an employment, ask questions, or even some kind of your data exploration. So this all comes under your data science. So in a nutshell, what I see is these are interchangeably. That is how exactly I understand, in fact, to interchangeably use some of the techniques. Now, if you just see some kind of activities which are being done, in fact, using data science, still now you can see the examples of automations. It could be It could be, a job is being done by a robot, in fact. So how it is being done, but we need to apply machine learning technique. It could be apply deep learning technique, or either way it could be, some kind of a algorithm we need to use it. Okay, so this is how exactly, already we talked about this kind of your, replica. We just say, we try to, how, human behaves, in fact. So that is what we try to feed into a computer and computer. Okay, so we will see, some kind of your examples. Everybody must have been experienced. I'll leave it on you, to go through some of these documents just to check, what are the examples of. It's all about your predictions kind of thing, whatever you do. Suppose if you are talked about, recognizing some kind of diseases, as for example, I'll Google's, Google's Google, DeepMind, as for example. So it tries to recognize some kind of a disease. So it's basically a predictions kind of thing. So all boils down, in terms of your predictions based on, could be some train, could be some kind of your patterns, could be some kind of analysis, or could be some kind of your trend. So this is how exactly it could be: healthcare, predictive maintenance, web search, page result, even airline flights. And in the very beginning, we said it's not, if we just talk about, any applications, it could be, artificial intelligence, because algorithm is written already in this. So it's not exactly a true artificial intelligence we are talking about nowadays, but if it is, kind of your, kind of your activities which is it is doing and has already been predefined. So that is what exactly we're trying to call it as an artificial intelligence. Okay, and these are the, I just talked about examples. So these are the applications I was talking about, TensorFlow kind of thing from Google itself, Scikit kind of thing, PageBrain, so these are the kind of your libraries we could talk about. You say these are the kind of your modules which are available, provided by the third parties even, to help us to write this algorithm. So no need to learn the algorithm kind of thing. It's not that you have to break your head, in fact, to learning first the algorithm and then only to be able to develop the kind of, but you need to understand how the algorithm works, in fact, so that you'd be able to, apply in your applications. Anyway, so if you talk about some kind of strategies, I'll just quickly take you through, so what could be your, strategies in terms of your, developing a kind of your. I'll just quickly take you through, of course, because as an, business executive, of course, you must be, doing a lot of projects, in fact, and you must be, involved in some of the projects, and how do you proceed, in fact. So you need to have a, a goal, of course, without which, you won't be able to, apply this. You need to adopt some kind of your, project plan, so that you need to do it, and you need to understand your landscape. In fact, you need to do a lot of homework, understanding, and the kind of your systems. Then, we can, that's very important. In fact, as I already said, learning is nothing for us out of an experience, for the mission out of your data. So if you want to feed your data, that data has to be clean. It's not that, the malicious data can be, and it should be, the machine would behave erratically kind of. So that is what is very important. You need to focus on your data. How do you, understanding your data kind of thing, and you need to understand, in fact, how your system works, in fact. So level of core of intuitions behind the systems. You don't confuse with the machine learning with the other forms of reasoning kind of thing. As I already said, it can be interchangeably used kind of thing, but depends on the volume, in fact. So if we say, from layman perspective, if you say it's a kind of a deep learning kind of thing, so where the huge amount of your data algorithms works, it's basically a depth and breadth, and how do you care about what should be the volume. So if it is, if you visualize, it will help you to understand, in fact. So how does your system, works? So system workflow, so whether it fits yes or no. Then, entering, human computer partnerships, how do you work with this hand-to-hand kind of thing. So always think about your systems are going to communicate with anyone else who use it internally or externally kind of thing. So who would be the user kind of thing. And story of the emperor, in fact. So you need to you can say this, but you don't may not be understanding, but always your, the people those would be developing, they would be able to make you understand how it works. So this could be from, strategist perspective. You can follow this kind of your, the commandants could be, 10 commandants. So that is how exactly I reach, end of my presentation, in fact. So once again, I'll just have a quick recap what we talked about, in fact, from understanding perspective. As I said in the very beginning, this session is could, it will throw some lights on how different applications works, what are the terminologies are being used on artificial intelligence, and what are the tools and techniques are being used, and how do you go about it? What could be your kind of your strategies? So this is all about, from my presentation, in fact. So if we have some more questions, you can, drop me in this chat box. In fact, there is a chat box. You can write, questions you have in your mind, otherwise you can drop me a mail, in fact. So this is my mail ID where you can access, you can reach out, so you would be able to, address your questions, any kind of your queries, and if you need some kind of your guidance in terms of your how do you proceed, what would be your project plan kind of thing, what are the technologies could adopt, in fact, because in the market there are a lot of technologies, as for example, which platform you should work. So that is one big question, whether, on which platform these particular applications will work, what are the technologies you should adopt kind of thing, and which should be applied. So this is the kind of your questions may appear in your mind. Okay, so if there is any other confusion, so please let me know and drop me a mail. I'll be more than happy to address your questions, and then provide you some kind of your support. If there is any questions, you just feel free to drop in the chat box. So you can just see, in your screen, you can just see the chat. There is an option called chat, so you can click on the chat, and you can just drop questions, so that otherwise we will conclude our session today. Thank you everyone, thank you very much for attending this particular session, and hope to see you again. In fact, so as because we are all from this, similar kind of your domain, hope we would be connected, in future. Well, I conclude the session right now, and wish you all the best. And I just disconnect right now. So if there is any other questions, queries, we'll take it offline. Thank you so much.